Okay. Ah! Okay. I'm not gonna scream. Actually, I'm gonna scream. Ah! Welcome to the first ever episode of the podcast that is TesTalks. Ah! So I know for some of y'all, well probably most of y'all, this is a surprise because I only really talked about this with like a few people. But I have been planning on starting a podcast for months. For months. Because I'm a talker at times. And I really want to talk about my career, my future goals, my past life. I really think I should write a book. Child, I'm 25. A lot has happened. A lot. I know. There's gonna be a lot of probably diverting from the topics. I'm gonna try really, really hard to not do that, but if you know me, it's hard. There's gonna be a lot of singing. If you know me, you know I love to sing. I'm a theater kid as of like 3 years ago. But yeah. Okay. Let's start from the beginning. Welcome. Welcome. I'm telling you, I'm gonna scream. This is crazy. The fact that I brought this podcast to fruition, look it up if you don't know it. It's mind blowing. It's life changing, and I'm really proud. I'm proud. I have to say, I'm proud. I have on this really nice shirt. Don't know what that says. I want to say I got this from Marshalls, and this is probably the nicest shirt I'll probably put on. Maybe I'll dress up from time to time. Dress up, but yeah, I'm wearing sweatpants, and I got my water. And let's start with why I'm doing this podcast. I I kind of just basically said it, but I really wanted to start this podcast because I really want to talk about my career in musical theater. I want to talk about my future goals. I want to have all of my friends from my different friend groups on here. Um, yeah, and I just really want to talk about theater. Now, this is a theater based podcast, but we won't just talk about theater. We're going to talk about whenever I have a guest on, we're going to talk about them, the moments from their birth to now that got them to where they are, like what choices they made, do they have any regrets, first impressions of me and them, what are their future goals, and then the key questions I really want to ask is, what are their takes on theater? Like, what is theater to them? Do they like it? Are they like, that's not really my cup of tea? If they've seen me perform in any like concerts or shows, I want to ask them like, what did you like? What didn't you like? And stuff like that. So okay, I think it's time. Now, the pilot episode, of course, is going to be all about me. I am your host, Dantes' son, but I go by Tez, not Dantes, not Dantes. I don't know why people can't say a six-letter name, but it's okay. Just call me Tez. Um, if you're listening to this at work, I highly suggest you get some tea. You get some water. If you're driving, crank up the volume. If you're at home, go pop some popcorn. Stop this. Go make some food. Go order some food. Pour your little cup and sit back and relax. And I hope you enjoy this podcast. So let's start from the beginning. I was born on October 28th, 2000. And I believe it was a Saturday. And I'm pretty sure it was like 10 something at night. So, mother, I'm so sorry I ruined your plans. Yeah, I was born on a Saturday. I'm pretty sure I came out the womb singing. Like, how like babies would come out the womb and they're like, "Wah," and all that. No, I'm pretty sure I came out. Yeah, cute, right? I'm telling you, lots of singing on this podcast. So yeah, born October 20th, 2000. I'm Scorpio. There's now I'm not into like all of the signs and stuff, but I've noticed there's a lot of hatred and very not nice comments about Scorpios. I don't see what the issue is. I think I'm pretty okay, but maybe that's me being very conceited. So y'all let me know what the problem is with Scorpios because I really don't get it. But I was born in Columbus, Georgia. If you don't know where that is, I want to say it's like an hour ish south of Atlanta. I think south. I'm bad with geography. So, but yeah, it's an hour and a change from Atlanta. Born in Columbus, went to Georgetown Elementary up to like the third grade. I entered or did my first talent show, I think in third grade. This is so embarrassing. I dressed up all nice. I had like a nice like white long sleeve shirt, not slacks, dress pants and dress shoes, because my mommy dressed me, of course. And the song, of course, I was singing. I sang what did I sing? I sang the theme song to Victoria's "Make It Shine." You don't have to be a dream. Eats down, eats down. You can't tell me that wasn't the popular song. I'm pretty sure that TV show had just came out in like third grade. What year was that? Third grade. Yeah. That was like 2008, 2009. Pretty sure. Yes, maybe. So I don't know, but yeah, sang the theme song, and I was like, I just love this show, and I was a gay little kid, and so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna sing this. I don't really care. Wasn't planning on placing. I was like, I just wanted to sing. Ended up getting third place. I said, what? Look at me. Maybe I do got a talent for this or something. But yeah, came in third place. The Who came in second? There was a guy who did stand up comedy who came in second. He was actually funny. Do not remember him or don't remember his name. But I still remember what he looks like though. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, he was funny, so he came in second. And then the girl who came in first sang "I Believe I Can Fly." And I'm not gonna hold you. She kind of ate that down. So I was like, third place is really not that bad for my first time on stage. The only downside is that my mother, and mother, if you're watching this, I don't think I'll ever let you live this down. She didn't see it. She had to work, and like she couldn't take off. I was like, well, this is kind of disappointing, and so went home, told her that I got third place. I think she probably cried because she felt bad. Mm, wah, wah. Uh, but I think I ended up performing it for her, and I think she probably still has that wretched video. She had the nerve to take a video and post it on Facebook, which I pray she took down. Mother, if you are listening to this, I pray you took that video down. Keep it for your own records. Do not share that to the world, because I was horrible. I was like 9. But yeah, so did that. Moved to Virginia. I guess the following year. And that's when I went to Beasley, started in the fourth grade, met some people, and then I don't think I did choir yet. I think choir was fifth grade. And to do choir, I remember my music teacher was like, if you want to join choir, you're gonna have to sing, I wanna say like My Country 'Tis of Thee. I think it was. Um yeah, so she would call up students and she'll ask them, she'd be like, do you want to be in the choir? And they'll be like, yeah, or like, no, and but like they would still have to like sing it though. I don't understand. She would call up students, right? And it was two at a time, and she would be like, okay, or student A, do you want to be in the choir? And they'll be like, yeah, and she'll be like, okay, then you have to like sing it well. And then she'll go to person B and be like, do you want to be in the choir? And then person B will be like, no. And then she was like, okay, well you stop singing. Babe, if if they said they didn't want to be in the choir, why am I singing for you like some show dog? But whatever. So I go up and she was like, Dantes, do you want? I said, well, yes, baby. I didn't say it like that, but that's kind of what I should have said. I was like, yes, of course. Sang it. I'm pretty sure I sang it down because I got in. But they let anybody in choir back in 2010, 2011. Um, so yeah, I'm pretty sure that was my first choir experience. And I remember that Halloween, we learned this song. Okay, I have to sit up for this. We learned this song called Pumpkin Jack. If you don't know what Pumpkin Jack is, you are gonna have to look it up. As a kid, and it's still now because that song eats down. Pumpkin Jack is that song, and if you don't know Pumpkin Jack, this is how it goes. He howls like a wolf, meows like a cat, creaks like a door, squeaks like a bat, hoots like an owl, growls like a bear. Pumpkin Jack will give a scare. What? Bars for kids. Bars for kids. Jack was indeed that pumpkin. Pumpkin Jack ate down. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, my brother was there too. Please tell me you remember Pumpkin Jack if you're watching. But then my first like choir concert, I'm gonna backtrack. Fourth grade actually was my first time on stage because I want to say Old McDonald, this little play. I was some type of animal. Ate that down. But yes, this was my first choir concert, and it was fun. It was fun. I think I sang Pumpkin Jack, like that was stuck in my head for like months. And then I remember it was me and another student who I'm hoping to have on this podcast in the future so we can talk about this more in depth and hopefully she remembers it. But I remember my choir teacher signed me and my other friend up to like audition at this. I don't know if it was like a performing arts school. I don't even know what school it was. But she was like, "Hey, I signed you both up to like audition to like sing at this school." And so I was like, did I tell you to do that? But I was like, did I tell you to do that? But okay, thank you for looking out. But yeah, so I believe it was like that weekend. She's like, yeah, you just have to pick a song and I guess you just sing it for whoever's in charge. Very, very early in the theater process. But this isn't theater at the time, it's just like choir. So told my dad and I was like, hey, my choir teacher signed me up. Let's go. And this is where I'm gonna knock off points for my father because do y'all want to know what song I sang for my audition? This is embarrassing. I'm telling you, I had no idea what I was doing, and I don't know why my family just let me do it. I sang "Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer" as my audition song. Let's take a moment of silence for that. I sang "Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer" as my audition song. Get out of here! Get out of here! First of all, got to the school, huge school. I really wish I knew where this was. And it was me, my dad, and maybe my brother, and we were waiting outside. And they called me in, and I had to go and just me. You have to really put yourself in my shoes as a kid, as an 11-year old. You're in this unknown place. You're standing in this quiet room. It was so quiet, and I believe it was maybe like one or a few people in there, maybe three at the max, and you have to sing in front of them. This is something like you've like never done. So I was like, "Hi, I'm Dantes' son." Slating. If you don't know what slating is, it's just like you like say your name and your age, why, and like what you're singing pretty much. And so I was like, "Hi, I'm Dante's son. I'm 11." I was like, "And I'm gonna sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer." And they were like, "Okay, good, start." My my scary self blanked forgot the lyrics. If you are a performer, I'm pretty sure you know the feeling of forgetting lyrics. Uh, if you've seen Glee, I'm gonna sidetrack. I told you I'm gonna be sidetracking. If you've seen Glee, I think it was like season 3 when Rachel was auditioning to get into the New York school. I can't remember what that school was called. And then Whoopi Goldberg was like the person who was like I guess like judging them or whatever. So she came to high school and Rachel, we all know what her go-to song is, "Don't Rain on My Parade." And like she knows that song backwards. When they got time to sing it, she choked. She choked. She like forgot the words. I choked. I was like, how does the song start? Oh, this is embarrassing. I looked to the side and I was like, how does this song start? And the guy in the middle looked so disappointed. He said, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I said, oh, right. Rudolph the Red. Long story short, I didn't get into that school, so shed a tear. But life lesson. Because I don't think I even like rehearsed that song. I think I was just like, okay, I'll sing this because I know it. I have a bad habit, and I still have this bad habit of picking songs that like I already know. I don't hate. I don't like to use the word hate because that's strong, but I strongly dislike learning a song in a short time period. I just it's something about learning a song. It's not fun for me because my voice has to like take time to get used to singing that song. That way I can sing that song the best way I can. Like if you give me a song and you're like learn this by I don't know, learn this in like 3 days versus you have a month for this. Of course, the month version is gonna sound better than a few days, but it's a piece of lint just falling in the air. Look at that. Look at the Lord. Where is the Lord? Where is the Lord? Prince of Egypt. Clock it. Yeah. So didn't get into the school. Sixth grade, did choir again. It was fun. I went to J.E.J. Moore. Oh gosh. I believe I was on the Lions. The smartest team there was. I don't care if people are like, oh, no, 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 no. It was the Lions. The Lions was the smartest team. It wasn't no Road Runners, no Polar Bears. I don't even know the other teams because they didn't matter to the Lions because the Lions was the apex predator. Come on now. And so I met, I want to say outside of senior year, sixth grade, I think I like made a lot of friends that year. I made a lot of friends. Choir was really fun. We sang the song about the presidents. I don't really remember it because it wasn't no Pumpkin Jack. I was like, oh, this isn't Pumpkin Jack, so I'm not really gonna pay attention. One, I don't know why I'm embarrassing myself. This is why I said I'll do this podcast because I was like, I have to be like vulnerable on here. I don't have to be, but I think it's best if I do. So, just break down the wall. Break down the walls. Oh, Austin and Allie, come on, get into it. Sixth grade. This is embarrassing. I don't even want to say this. There was these two very, very, very pretty girls. I don't, I don't know how young I was when I knew I was gay. I'm pretty sure I knew when I was in like first grade, but back then everybody was in denial. So there was these two very, very, very pretty girls that were in my class, and I remember they moved at like some point throughout the year, and they told my friend. I don't even want to say this. This is embarrassing. They told my friend that they would have gone out with me. I don't know. I think they were sisters. I think they were sisters. But anyways, they were like they would have gone out with me, but my butt was too big. Again, let's take another moment of silence. In sixth grade, I was maybe 12. My butt was too big, so they did not want to go out with me. I think I laughed it off at the time. When I was young, I really did not like my booty. If you know who I am, if you see me in person, you know my butt is kind of big. I get that from my mother. I get that all from my mother. So you can't really hide that in like pants unless like your pants are like parachute pants. And I was like, I'm not wearing no parachute pants. Just give me a normal size pants, please. But of course, my booty was a little. I had a lot of junk in the trunk, I'll say. And so hearing that, I think I laughed it off in the moment, but deep down, I think I just like wanted to cry. I wanted to cry so bad. That's embarrassing as a kid. Now I'm like, oh, well, hey, you can't be mad at me if you ain't got it. But back then times were different. So that's crazy. But outside of that, that was a really fun year. Made a lot of friends, not even like student wise, but teacher wise too. I like connected with a few of with some of the teachers there at JJ Moore. It's cold outside. Is he wearing boxers? Oh gosh. Oh, anyways, the saddest thing happened. Close towards the end of the school year, I had to move because my parents were moving to like this newer house. So we had to move. At the end of the year, I think we maybe had like a month left of school. I'm like, oh my gosh. I couldn't even finish the school year. I don't think I cried, but I was sad. I was really, really sad. And then had to start. Where did I go? Hopewell. I went to Hopewell for like a few weeks, maybe 3 weeks, maybe two and a half. And being the new kid is one thing, but being the new kid at the end of the year is a whole nother thing. So I was embarrassed, but I didn't realize how ahead Prince George school system was versus Hopewell because when like learning stuff, I want to say in like history class, the teacher would ask questions and like, and, and the students would just be like, "Oh, well, I don't know, I don't know." I'm like, it's this, and then the teacher would be like, "Oh yeah, 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 good job, good job, good job." Like, be so for real, be so for real. I was like, are we behind, guys? I was like, I trust and believe I'm not that smart. Are we just behind? But yeah, I guess the school system was like a little bit ahead. So I was like the brainiac because I knew all of the answers to the questions. But I'm like, because we already learned it. But so moved at the end of sixth grade. Stayed there the entire year of seventh. Nothing really happened in seventh grade. That was like a very dry period in my life. Then moved back to Prince George in eighth grade. Um, I believe I was at Clements. The one thing I remember from Clements was the pipe burst, and I felt so bad because one of the pipe bursts in my English teacher, I think she was English, in my English teacher's classroom, and she was so sweet. She was so sweet. And we came in, and she was like, you could tell she's been crying because the pipe burst, and I think it like destroyed most of our like paperwork, like tests and quizzes and stuff we took. So she was just sad. I think a lot of her books were gone, a lot of the grades were gone, and that was a really rough year for her. Ugh, rough. Uh, and then ninth grade, I don't remember. I think that's when I started ROTC. I think that was the year I started ROTC. Fun fact, I was forced into doing that course. I hated it at the time, but it got better. So, Father, if you're watching this, thanks for that. No, it wasn't too bad. All you had to do was wear the uniform, and you pretty much passed the class. So, I just didn't want to wear the uniform. I mean, it's not comfortable, and like they were green. Also, peep the tattoo. It says no expectations, no disappointments. I got this a few years ago. We'll get into that. But and then went to high school, 10th grade. Uh, that's where I met a lot of my friends that I have now. And then 11th and 12th, 10th grade was a lot. Was a lot. 10th grade was a lot for me. I don't think I told a lot of people this, but that's why we do podcasts, huh? 10th grade, I think that's when I had my first boyfriend, and I don't think anybody knows that. So, cat's out of the bag, huh? Yeah, I had my first boyfriend in 10th grade. I did a lot of stuff 10th year. I think I got my first car. I got my first job. I worked as a bagger at the Fort, well, I guess Fort Lee now, commissary. The the tips were, if you don't know what bagging is, like you're not on like a payment schedule. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but like you really don't get a paycheck. You just get tips. So like you bag somebody's groceries. Either you put them in their cart and they take it out, or you take it out for them, and like it's up to them whether they tip you or not. And your tips is basically your paycheck. So it kind of, how much money you took home that day depended on you. So like if you had a lazy day, your tips kind of showed it because you just weren't really doing your job. But if you're like, I'm gonna get there early, I'm gonna take small breaks, and then I'm gonna stay there to closing. You will make some like pretty good money. I mean, I made some pretty decent money bagging, and I learned a lot from bagging. People so entitled, so entitled. Now, don't get me wrong, I met a lot of cool people, but customer service is just, I knew that wasn't for me. But yeah, I did that for a few years. I'll get into my next job later. But yeah, 10th did all that. 11th and 12th, senior year was really the best. We can skip 11. That was my hardest year. Typically, your junior year is like the hardest year because you got to start the college prep. You got to start planning this and blah blah, and then you take all these classes. You start doing more papers. Hard year. Senior year, the best year. That's when I choreographed or helped choreograph and model in the talent show. That was fun. That was fun. I did a talent show. It's my last year of ROTC. It's my first year at homecoming, second year at prom. Um, yeah, and that was a really really fun year. Walking across that stage and getting your diploma. Oh my gosh, it was a long ceremony, worth it. 13 years of school, 13 years of school, and then freshman year I went to Georgia. I went to Columbus State University in Georgia. First year, met some pretty cool people. I really wanted to be closer to my mom because I hadn't lived with her or near her since I was a child, and I'm like 18 now. So I was like, yeah, I'll go to college by her because I think the college was only like maybe like 15 minutes from her house. So yeah, did that for the first year. Struggled with the money because I planned on using my parents' GI Bill, but turns out I had to be in state to use that. So I only did my freshman year. I didn't even do my full freshman year actually because of COVID. Yikes. Because of COVID. That's right. It was around spring break, so like March. I planned on going on a trip with my friends like Florida or something. And then right and then I wanna say my mom was like, hey, be careful if you're traveling because of like COVID. I said, what is COVID? You know me, I won't really paying attention to the news. And then looked it up, I was like, oh, this is actually serious. And then that's when the school was like, "Hey, we're gonna extend your spring break instead of a week, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know how long it was." And then eventually they were like, "Actually, y'all just won't be able to come back to school." I said, "We're not coming back to school." Okay, so yeah, we literally had to like move out. So I had to get all my stuff. The beauty in all of that, even though COVID was a rough period for all of us, I got my refund back from school. Child, when I tell you my bank account has never been that happy, and I wish I would have saved it. I had so much money, I did not know what to do with it. I was buying snacks, I was buying games. It was COVID was a time for me. COVID was a time. Those few months in 2019, I was at home. I was sleeping into like noon and going to bed at 4. And then this is when theater started to kick in for me because that's when they put Glee on Netflix and I binged it all. And I was like, oh, I was like, oh, I actually like kind of want to sing again because the backtrack when I moved at the end of 6th grade to Hopewell, it was too late to pick my classes, so I couldn't pick choir. And so 7th grade, I didn't do it. And after taking a whole year off, I guess I kind of like lost that part of myself. And so, yeah, I didn't do it. I didn't do it since 6th grade. I didn't do choir. But then when COVID happened and we were at home, I was like, okay, I want to pick that back up. And then so transferred back to Virginia, sophomore year. Um, my major was biology, and I didn't start. I didn't start my theater career until the end of 2022, and that's where I met um a group of friends. I'm not gonna say who they are because I want them to come on here at some point and explain the story. So met some friends, and they introduced me. Actually, no, we met when we were gonna do this horrible production with these horrible people, and it was very toxic. It was racist. It was not a safe space. But then they were like, "Hey, well, why don't you audition for the musical at VCU?" That's where I went. Um, I was like, "Okay, sure." The musical was Rent, and I was like, "I don't think I've seen Rent," but I remember they did like I don't know, maybe a couple songs on there from Glee, but I think we watched it, and then I was like, okay, I know exactly who I want. I didn't want to lead. If you've seen Rent, not the movie, but the musical version, there's this guy named Paul. He's like the life support guy who like hosts like these meetings and talks about like it's like the I don't remember too much about it, but like during the AIDS pandemic and stuff, he's like the host guy who like hosts these meetings and people talk about, I guess, how like AIDS has affected them. I mean, it's a life support group, so we support each other. And so I was like, okay, I want him. I didn't have my hopes set too high because I couldn't sing, I couldn't act. This was all new to me. So I was like, okay, I'll just try my best. And then they helped me pick my audition song, which was Lady Marmalade. Ah, eight down, eight down. They helped me prep, sing, and I did my audition. I walked in. I don't know. I was like nervous, but I was like kind of confident. I think it was the outfit. I had like this leather jacket, I had a crop top, I had black ripped jeans and boots. I was like, okay, this is giving like bad. Because I'm bad. And walked in, slayed it. I was like, hey, I'm Tez. Oh, freshman year, I think that's when I started to go by Tez because a lot of people could not say Dantes for some reason. I don't know what it is, but that's when I started going by Tez. So I was like, hey, Tez, blah, blah, blah. They were like, what song are you singing? I said, Lady Marmalade, and sang the song. And then the director asked me to sing one of the songs from the show. But then I was like, oh, I don't really know that one, but I know this one, and I sang that one. And then sang that, blah, blah, blah. And then she was like, okay, we'll let you know. So fast forward, I don't know, a couple weeks. I remember this specifically. I was taking a nap in my car, and my friend called me, and actually she FaceTimed me. She was like, Tez. I was like, yeah, I kind of just woke up. Like, what's up? In college, I took a lot of naps in my cars. I don't know if that was a wave, but I always napped in my car. And so I was like, hey, what's up? And she showed me the cast list. They posted the cast list for their 2023 main stage musical Rent. And then and then she showed me the ensemble section. If you don't know what an ensemble is, it's like there's leads and there's ensemble. It's like the ensemble is like it's like the rest of the cast that helps bring the show together. And so I saw my name and I saw our names on there too. Um, ours as in my friends. And I was like, oh, period, we're in. And then she was like, but wait, there's more. She went down and there was this. It was the understudy list, and the understudy is like you basically learn everything what that specific lead role is. In case that person can't go on, then it's up to you to go on. And the understudy list, I got the understudy for Angel Dumas Chenard. I said, ah, screamed. I said, whoa, I don't even know this game. I said, I don't even know theater like that. I'm a non-major, and I went in and I got the understudy. And there was a lot of people that auditioned. There was a lot of people that auditioned. I said, yo, this is nuts. Confidence is key. I said, oh, I must have ate that down. So yeah, my senior year of college was 2022, 2023. I graduated May of 2023 from VCU. Did and then performed in my first main stage or first musical period. And that was like a 3 month process. I learned so much. So much. I was like, this is nuts. I was like, I didn't know like doing theater is a whole second job. It is a second job. The commitment, the dedication, the work, the effort, the time, all of it is just so much. And so yeah, it did that, and there is a lot of conflict. Not like conflict, but there's a lot of like gossip about there because at VCU, the arts program, e- e- everybody pretty much knew everybody. But when they dropped that cast list, they were like, "Who is Don T's son?" They were like, "Who is this?" They was like, "Who is this nobody?" Oh baby, ooh, when I tell you there was so much drama, there was so much gossip, they were asking the director, they was like, who who is this? She was like, I'm not gonna say nothing, but just know he walked in and he knocked out the park. I was like, yeah, get into it. So he did that. And then from 2023 to now, I've done quite a few shows. I've done Hairspray. I've done Rent twice. I've done Illegally Blonde. Gosh, I'm blanking. I did Shrek last year. I'm doing Ordinary Days now. I did Rocky Horror and Spelling Bee last year. I've done quite a few shows, so I've had my fair share of ensemble. everybody starts somewhere. My first like couple shows were ensemble, and then I got my like first lead 2023, 2024, the beginning of 2024. I did a Virginia Rep Kids show. I got the lead in that. That was fun. A lot. For those who don't know, this is a huge part of my identity. I have a stutter. I stutter. If you don't know what stuttering is basically it's um your flow of speech isn't as perfect as like the next person would talk. I know with mine, I there are different types of stuttering. I have prolongations and blocking. Prolongations is like if I want to say the word sun, it's like sun. And then blocking, it feels like there's like tension in your throat. So again, if you want to say like sun, you're like sun. So yeah, I have a stutter. And so doing theater and like public speaking, I promise you, it is a struggle every day. Balancing theater and work is one thing, but adding stuttering to that is like you have to work like ten times harder. That's why I knew like I always wanted to play the lead, but I always knew there would be a time when I would have to read from the script. I'm not the best reader, and if I'm like nervous or like anxious, then my stuttering really starts to kick in. So when I did that professional show at Virginia Rep, the kids show, there were like certain words that took me a while to say, dialogue. It was very stressful. Theater really shouldn't be stressful, but yeah. So yeah, it's a struggle every day. But I really want to get into how my experience is going so far currently. Um, we can't really see, but I moved into my own apartment a few months ago. It's time for me to leave. It's time for me to leave the nest. Last year, 2025 was a very, very hard year for me. It was a hard year. Hard year. Not only with theater, but with life itself, with work, with friends, with family. Everything was just a lot on me. Um, Last year I did about 4 shows. I'm not gonna name them, but with each of those shows, there was something that went wrong. Whether it was with the cast, like the people in the cast, the crew, which is like the stage manager, the director, the music director, the assistant director, whoever that's part of the crew team, or there was something that happened along the process where it'd be like time was wasted, people were disregarded, people were disrespected, people were neglected and stuff like that. Last year was like the worst year for theater. I don't know what happened. I think we all know what happened last year. I think what comes into play is politics, but you know what they say, don't talk about politics or race. So, but we all know what happened last year. And I fear because of what happened last year, that kind of downward spiraled into the theater realm, and yeah, I was heavily disappointed. I did 4 shows last year. I'm exhausted, y'all. I'm exhausted. It's hard being a star. Um, but no, there was always something going on. Whether it's like we would have we would have the people, we would have the talent, but we wouldn't have the direction. We wouldn't have a very productive director, music director, stage manager, that type of stuff. And I was like, well, like I don't with each musical I've done, I've always learned something. But I was confused because I was like, how can you be the director, the person who's in charge, the person who helps bring your vision to life, um, not be productive? But did that. There was another show where it seemed like they cared less more about, I guess, like the storytelling, and they more so just focused on how it sounded musically wise. And I'm just like, when you're doing a musical, the singing is important, absolutely, but the acting is just as, if not more important, because we have a story to tell. Like what you can't say you sing, and what you can't sing you dance. But lately I've noticed, and I don't know if it's just me, I don't know if it's me being a diva, I don't know what it is, but I've noticed there's been a lot more productions focusing more on singing than acting, and it's more so about who you know and not what you can do. I've been to a lot of auditions and callbacks where I've seen people extremely talented, extremely talented, but they're new. And it's like they don't really get the chance. So I'm like how are we supposed to keep theater fresh and up and running if we can't bring in something new? If we can't bring in new people. And so yeah. Last year really took a toll. I was like I really probably should take a break because it seemed like there was always something that happened and it was just disappointing. Theater is supposed to be fun. It isn't supposed to stress you out. It's a hobby for some. But for me, I really want it to be my career though. But yeah, it really is supposed to be like a stress reliever. Last year, I was stressed out. There, there's no reason to be stressed, but I was stressed out. So, but then I went into this year. I said I labeled 2026 as the year of change. I said it's time for me to get my career on its feet. But I have to say what kickstarted that was watching Heated Rivalry. Ah, if you don't know what that show is, you are gonna have to watch it because at some point I am gonna dive deeply into that show. It'll have to be with the guests who's seen it. And yeah, I don't want to get into it now because I have notes. I have so many notes, and so it'll take too long. But yeah, seeing these actors who are my age, 25, 24, and they weren't planning on like being famous. That wasn't their like goal. They were just like, "Hey, I like this script, and I'm gonna try out for the film." And they got it. They were excellent. Specifically, Hudson Williams and Connor Story, and yeah, they did a phenomenal job. But that's kind of what like kickstarted their career because now they're doing all these talk shows and press tours and photo shoots and hostings and stuff. And now I'm like, if they're doing all that, it's time for me to get my career on its feet. We're the same age. Like 8 months ago, they were both like servers. I was like, that's crazy. They were servers in a restaurant, and now look at them. So yeah, I need to get. I was like, this is the year. This is the year of change. 2026. I sense a big change is coming in my career, something positive. Um, and that's also why I really wanted to start this podcast because I want to communicate with the people. I want to know like how they're feeling. Excuse me, if they're feeling the same way. Excuse me. I'm feeling, I just really want to see what people's thoughts are on theater, but it's not just about theater. It's going to be literally about anything. I want to have so many people from my friend groups on here. I already have a list. So, yeah, I think I'm going to end it here. The pilot was just about me. I hope this reads well with y'all. I hope y'all really enjoyed this. I hope y'all weren't like, Tez, this is like stupid. I hope, well, if you're still watching, hopefully you liked it. And if you, as a viewer, want to be like, hey, Tez, would you mind if I, could come on the podcast and we can talk about, if we've done a show together or, if you've done a show and you want to talk about, hit me up, please. I am always looking for more and more people to come on here to express their mind, freedom of speech, and just, talk about what they want to talk about and get something off their chest. And yeah, also I'm gay. I don't know if that really matters, but I think I might have said that earlier. But in case you didn't know, yes, I'm gay. But yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you again for watching. This is Test Talks, and you can watch this on YouTube. I am very early in the process, as you can see. Don't mind the camera quality. I'm apologizing for that. I'm apologizing for the lighting and the sound. I'm very new at this, very beginning stage. I promise it will get better within time. But yeah, I'm praying you can stream this on Apple Podcasts, and you can definitely watch this on YouTube. And yeah, thank you for watching. Until next time. Bye.